Comrades, we meet you at a time when Zimbabwe has had a new president after the inauguration of our president yesterday. And this opportunity has allowed us time to confer with colleague and brother of ours, Comrade Sifiso Fikile Mbalula.
Yes. If Sifiso is okay.
Yes. Mbalula, who is the new Secretary General of South Africa. I mean, it gave us an opportunity to congratulate him and his team for having been elected to the position of the Secretariat within the ANC. As you are aware, we have a lot of programs as Secretary Generals of the Liberation Movement. We discussed such programs together, and also we prepared an agenda for our meetings that are likely to take place as soon as it is possible, and shared perspectives on quite a number of areas affecting or afflicting our organizations, that is ZANU PF and the ANC. And South Africa is our next door neighbor, our big brother, and there's quite a lot that we have to discuss this morning. And we want to assure the nation that we are still colleagues in the struggle, as we have always been with ANC, where we shared trenches together during the liberation struggle, and we're still doing the same right now, just to ensure that imperialists don't have their foothold in our area. I think that's really briefly what I can say before my colleague says something. Over to you.
Thank you very much, Secretary General Dr. Mpofu of ZANU PF. On behalf of myself and the delegation that I led coming here to the inauguration and the invitation of ZANU PF, our sister party, Comrade Nomvula Mkonyani, first DSG, who's also responsible for international relations, we want to express our gratitude to the people of Zimbabwe for their hospitality that they have shown, but we also want to congratulate them for the inauguration, for a very successful, epic, never been seen before inauguration of President Emmerson Mnangagwa. We want to congratulate them for this successful event. As the ANC, we came to ZANU PF headquarters for a bilateral meeting which focused on ideological work of the two parties we are doing, but over and above that, the strengthening of relations. Our relationship was not born yesterday. We are tied together. It was born and tied to one another in blood for the liberation of our people. And that task is not over. If we were to quote Frelimo, we will say, "A luta continua," the struggle continues. We, the ANC, Frelimo, ZANU PF, Chama Pendus, SWAPO, we are allies for life, and that must be understood. We came together in a struggle to fight apartheid, to fight colonialism. And the hallmarks of colonialism are still with us. And we are still engaged in that struggle. and it's not over yet. And that's what brings us together. We don't just come together for the sake of it. We come together for the liberation of our people. What ZANU PF is encountering in Zimbabwe, we know where it comes from. We can explain it politically. Even if the current generation of youth have lost the meaning of liberation, we have not. We've got a task to succeed. History demands of us to continue with the struggle and to succeed. And we as the ANC, we came, met with our comrades, friendly, warmly, comradely relations. And we say that Luta continue, the struggle is not over. And we've got the responsibility to educate the youth about where we come from, but about the tasks that still lie ahead. And we're very happy that ZANU PF has emerged victorious here in Zimbabwe. Because the victory of Zimbabwe signals one thing, the defeat of puppets. It's signaling one thing, the defeat of imperialist puppets in our continent. And we say, Amandla, all power to the people. Thank you very much.
Because we're two speakers, I'll give two categories to our Q&A. The first set of questions will be directed to our Secretary General, Fikile Mbalula. I see Wellington, you had raised your hand. Anyone else? So I'll take Wellington and Madzimore, and then, yeah.
Congratulations, SG. Okay, firstly, we are coming in a period whereby before the elections, already there was backlash from the West with regards to this particular section of the region. And maybe, as a party, what was your impression of how the elections were conducted, despite what the country has been facing prior to the elections and, of course, during this period?
Thank you very much. We, as the ANC, we did send an observer mission. One of the most important things about this election, it was not marred by violence. They were very peaceful, and people came out in their numbers. The campaigning was very, very vibrant, and the Zimbabwean people have spoken. And the democratic outcome must be respected. Should anyone dispute the election, Zimbabwe has got a constitution, have got a law, it's a sovereign country. Disputes must be settled within the Zimbabwe's democratic dispensation. And we respect that. We know that there are observer missions that have raised their own views about how the elections have been conducted. They are entitled to that, but they must respect sovereignty of countries. And you don't impose your will on another country. You simply raise your views for the country to respond to those. And observations can also be disputed by those who run the elections. So Zimbabwe's Electoral Commission ran the elections and pronounced on the outcome of the elections, and we respect the will of the people, and that's what is important. South Africa does not run Zimbabwe, and then the same as Zimbabwe will not run South Africa, and we respect everybody and their observer missions and all of that, but at the end of the day, the ANC subscribed to the sovereignty of nations. The ANC is against regime change agenda, which has been perpetuated by our political fools in the world, who even in South Africa want ANC to be out of power through the agenda of regime change, sponsoring non-governmental organizations and all of that, and sponsoring political parties and so on. We are aware of these things, we know them. They do happen. And the fact of the matter is that we respect the will of the people. And yesterday, Zimbabweans came out in their numbers to show their support for their president. What a wonderful event it was. And That is what is really encouraging, and so on. So we respect the will of the people and the outcome of the election, and in that particular context, Zimbabwe is a sovereign state.
Right, I'll take your last two for him, and then the last two that will be directed to Dr. Mpofu. So,
Secretary General, we've seen some emerging political opposing political parties hobnobbing with imperialists. Your take on that is a revolutionary party.
Imperialists and their agenda will never overcome. We are for a multipolar world, and we believe in strong regional integration. And in that context, Zimbabwe is our strong ally in terms of Zimbabwe as a country. And we need to build this region called Southern Africa, developmental regions with all the challenges that we face, economically and otherwise. Zimbabwe requires strong trading partners. We call for the doing away of sanctions in Zimbabwe, so that Zimbabwe can fully trade and show potential. There are people who want mineral resources from Zimbabwe and exploit the Zimbabweans, all of that. Zimbabwe was referred to as a breadbasket of the African continent. We know the potential of this country. And in that context, it is important that these nations that have imposed sanctions on Zimbabwe must do away with those sanctions. They cannot impose their ideological disposition on the Zimbabwean people. And I think that's what we and ZANU PF understand together, and we fight against. The ANC is an anti-imperialist organization. And what is imperialism? Imperialism is the colonization of economic resources by another country. And at the same time, imperialism is about subverting democracy and imposing and appointing your own puppets. We don't believe in that. We believe in the independence of countries, and that's what is important for us. Look at what imperialism have done. They've exported it in Iraq. They've exported it in Libya. They've exported it in Afghanistan. Where are those countries today? They are dead. They are dead because imperialism followed the resources, because they wanted oil. And then they manufactured stories that there is weapons of mass destruction. Where are those weapons? You tell us that Zimbabwean elections were this and that and that. Donald Trump, the exporters of modern democracy, himself was not happy about the outcome of the elections. In fact, he's still challenging them till today as not free and fair. So why should we listen to other people? Yes, they are unhappy because they became dreamers and presidents before the elections was concluded. And then if those dreams did not multiply into reality, it is their right, but they can do that. Now, did Donald Trump, when he was unhappy about the elections, do any other thing? No. They tried violence at the Capitol, and then he's been charged now for those acts of violence. Here in Zimbabwe, if a political party is not happy about the elections, what should they do? There is a constitution. You go to court, you do whatever that you follow, resolve your disputes there. And that is what should be happening. Should actually be happening. Not that an observer mission must then say in Zimbabwe, this and that must happen. It cannot be. It does not happen like that. What happens is that you respect sovereignty, raise your concerns, talk about them, and then you deliver them to the country concerned, and the country can respond to that. ZEC, Zimbabwean government, Zimbabwean people can respond to that. And then in their own planning going forward, they can integrate those concerns going into the future. So at the end of the day, what I'm trying to say, an imperialist agenda that seeks to govern and run down countries and undermine their sovereignty is what we don't support as the ANC.
Last one from you, my brother.
Thank you, SJ. I wanted you to know your view on, in particular, the SADC Elections Observer Mission report that was led by Mr. Nevers Mumba. As a SADC member state, What's your view on that?
Well, the less said about Nevers Mumba, the better. The fact of the matter is that, like I said, it falls within the principle. He's got the right to say what he wants to say, and that's where we end. But at the end of the day, he cannot say the Zimbabweans did not vote. Zimbabweans went to vote, and they voted, and these elections were overseen by ZEC, and the electoral outcome were pronounced. Now we've got a president in Zimbabwe. So can Zimbabweans be patriotic, support their own processes? That's how this country is going to prosper. Anyone who works against the interest of this country and by seeking to do anything else and not being patriotic is to undermine the prosperity and delay the progress of this country. And this country has got very much educated people. Anything you can lift from Zimbabwe is that the liberation movement in Zimbabwe has educated its people, right from Robert Mugabe till today. There's nobody here in Zimbabwe who's not educated. Even those who are in South Africa, they work in the universities, they work in the banks, everywhere else. They are well educated, quality education. So Zimbabwe revolution in that context has delivered. All what is happening now is that there is an agenda of regime change. That's what is undermining the prosperity of this great country. Because people, till they get their puppets into office, they will then call for sanctions, call for anti-progress and all of that. This country is rich. It has got resources. It has been prospering. It was referred to as the breadbasket of the African continent. All what has happened in delaying this country is because all of those things were taken away because a black government led by Africans came into power. And all what Africans wanted, except being educated themselves, was that the land belongs to all those who live it. And that is why ZANU PF says, ilizwe lakhiwa ngabanikazi balo. That's it.
The protocol team is nudging me to invite our secretaries for external affairs. Thank you so much.
So thank you very much indeed. As our Secretary General have already indicated, this meeting was extremely productive for the two liberation movements. The exchange of views was very, very comradely, as we have always been over a very long time indeed. We have shared trenches during our liberation struggle. It is significant that in the process of the consultations between our two Secretary Generals, it was agreed that the term former liberation movement was premature because the revolution is not over yet. We are still in the process of liberating ourselves. Yes, we have achieved political liberation, but not yet economic liberation. And so the struggle continues. As Secretary General Mbadula said, Aluta continua. As he concluded, Tinyika inovakwa na bene bayo, ikutungwa na bene bayo, ikunamathibwa na bene bayo. So the meeting is endorsed that is a very, very important requirement for us as liberation movements. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We once more want to congratulate the people of Zimbabwe for having conducted themselves in a manner where they put Zimbabwe first and came out to contest and participate in the past elections. We are past that now. And as the ANC, amongst other things that the SG has said, is that we respect the sovereignty of any country, as well as the constitution of that country. Election processes are run by an independent body, just as it is in our country. The other critical thing about ourselves being here in Zimbabwe is about our commitment towards party-to-party relations, strengthening those party-to-party relations to pursue our revolutionary cause. Secondly, it's about international solidarity. And therefore, as the SG has said, we have seen what has happened in Libya, we have seen what has happened in Iran, we know what has happened here in Zimbabwe. And we stand together with the people of Zimbabwe in terms of economic suppression because of the sanctions that have been unilaterally imposed over Zimbabwe. The other thing is that we're coming at a time where we have had very successful hosting of a BRICS meeting, starting with the meeting of political parties, where ZANU PF was part of that. We went to BRICS. All the what was contained in the declaration comes also as part of the work we did as political parties. We know the tasks now that have to be done until the next BRICS meeting. We'll be having bilaterals to deal with those areas that are quite important on the economic front, but also on people-to-people relations as pronounced by Comrade President Cyril Ramaphosa in the declaration. The last one, we will be attending together, ZANU PF and the African National Congress. Our SG will be leading the NC delegation. Our SG from ZANU PF will be leading the delegation to Russia, where we'll be participating in an international conference to reflect on neo-colonization and imperialism in the current juncture. And of course, we'll have to deal with it as it has been properly expressed by our leaders here. And once more, it is about pursuing the economic emancipation of our people beyond political office. We're looking forward to also learning from ZANU PF on how to work the ground and undermine the enemy's intentions. We're going to elections, not for any other thing, but to consolidate our agenda for a better Africa.
A photo shoot with the other principals, a photo shoot in that order, and then we exit.
That's how one of us. Because
I think so.
Put